Good morning, students. We'll start now. So last Wednesday we started with our third unit, which is constraint satisfaction problem. So in unit 2, we explored the idea that problem can be solved by searching in a space of states. So if you remember, in that we used to start with the initial configuration, that is initial state, and we used to apply all possible actions on that initial configuration, thereby generating successor nodes. And we apply same process on the successor nodes, and we used to continue like that, and thereby generating a tree which is known as a search tree, right? So search tree was generated, and we used to search in that search tree, and the collection of these nodes in the search tree are known as state space. It is known as state space. Okay, so either we were searching blindly, okay, that was the unguided search, or our search was helped by some heuristic function, and those heuristic function were very problem specific. We have seen two heuristic functions for 8 puzzle problem, right? So that was the scenario in unit 2. So we explored the idea that problems can be solved by searching in a space of states. So what was happening there? So once we reach to the node which matches with the goal configuration, we used to return a solution. And what was the solution? It was a sequence of action to reach to the node, from the root to that node, right? That was our solution. Solution is a sequence of actions, right? Now in CSP also we are going to find out a tree. In CSP also we are going to find a search tree, but here in each step we will be assigning a value to the variable. Okay, so at a node we will be having a variable. Okay, and if each variable has a value that satisfy all the constraint on the variable, then we can say that that problem is solved. Okay, so once we assign values to all the variables in a such a way that all are satisfying the constraint, okay, all the constraint, then we can say that that problem is solved. Let me give example of 4 queen problem. So what do you know 4 queen problem? So we have to place 4 queens on 4 by 4 grid so that none are attacking each other. Okay, we have to place 4 queen from a chess game, right, on a 4 by 4 grid so that none are attacking. Okay, so once you start solving, at each step you will be assigning value to one variable. So here the variables will be what? So we can consider queen 1, queen 2, queen 3 and queen 4. These are our 4 queens. Now q1 must be placed in column 1, q2 must be placed in column 2, and so on. Okay, so now these are our variable. Now which value we have to assign to this variable? A row number. Okay, so if I place q1 in first row, its value will be 1. q1 equals to 1. Okay, so this q1 is representing a queen which belongs to column 1. Okay, and equals to 1 means what? It is placed in row 1. Okay, so when we are solving this 4 queen problem by CSP, we will reach to one of the node where we may get a configuration like this. After 4 assignment, okay, okay, so we have to add one more. So during each step we will be assigning value to one variable, and after 4 steps we may reach to this configuration. So q1 is placed here, q2 is placed here, q3 is placed here, and q4 is placed here. As you can see, no two queens are attacking each other. Okay, so now all the variables are satisfying the constraint. What was the constraint? No two queens should attack each other, right? So now no two queens are attacking each other. That means this is the solution and our problem is solved. Did you get the point? Okay. So in CSP, what happens? We assign the value to variable, and if all the variables satisfy all the constraint, then we can say that that problem is solved. So this is how these two problems are different. Now we'll see the definition of CSP. So in CSP, we represent a state with a set of variable value pairs. Okay, so the state means what? A state of a node, one particular node, is represented by a set of variable value pairs and represent conditions for a solution by a set of constants. Okay, so we represent these pairs, variable value pairs, and a set of constant on the variables. Okay, and all this assignment, variable value assignment, should satisfy these constants. And we have seen how to define a CSP problem, right? We use these three components to represent a CSP problem, where x is a set of variables. Okay, so if you have n variables, so it will be a set of this xn to xn, x1 to xn. Now each variable will have a corresponding domain. Domain represents a set of possible values, and C is a set of constants. And we have seen three example problems. Okay, now why to formulate a problem as a CSP? Okay, so what benefit we get when we formulate a given problem in the form of CSP? Reason one is the CSP yield a natural representation for wide variety of problems. Okay, so many of our real world problems can be formulated in the form of CSP. Consider the example of job scheduling problem, where we have to schedule a job. Now we can put a constraint on one particular job, like it has to be completed in within 10 days, like, right? So if you put such constraint, so many of the state in the search tree may get eliminated. Okay, and our search tree becomes narrow, and because of that our search will become very efficient. Okay, so that is the reason one. So many of our CSP yield a natural representation for wide variety of problems, because in any problem that you consider, there will be some constraint, right? So we have seen the example of 4 queen problem, right? The constraint was there should be a single queen in one particular row, right? So why not to take the benefit of such constraint? Okay, now reason 2 is CSP solvers can be faster than state space searchers, because the CSP solver can quickly eliminate large swatches of the search space. Okay, so it can quickly eliminate large part of the search space. Okay, take an example. So consider map coloring problem. Once we have chosen Southern Australia, okay, so this is our Southern Australia state, and if it is assigned blue color, okay, and if we propagate this constraint, okay, so now if we propagate this constraint to other state, now other state cannot have blue color. Okay, so they will have only two colors possible, that is red and green. Okay, so without constraint propagation, if you don't propagate that constraint, every other state, this 5 connected state, will have 3 options, right? Red, green and blue. So that means if you do the permutation, they will have total 3/5, that means 243 assignments possible. But if you propagate that constraint, okay, what is the constraint in map coloring problem? No two neighboring states should have same color, right? So if we use that constraint, then what is the result? So we never have to consider blue as a value for a neighboring state. That means we will have only 2 raised to power 5, that means 32 assignments. So we can reduce from this many assignment to these assignments. That means we have total 87% of reduction. So that's the benefit of CSP. Okay, so it can eliminate large amount of states from the search tree. Thereby our search will become very narrow, okay, and it will become efficient. So that is the advantage of formulating a problem in terms of CSP problem. Now we'll see various types of constraints. Okay, first type of constraint is unary constraint. Okay, so when only one variable is involved in the constraint, that is known as unary constraint. It restricts the value of single variable. Okay, so we have not seen any example of unary constraint till now, but consider in our map coloring problem, if South Australian people, if they don't like red color, sorry, here we have typo, so if they don't tolerate a red color, okay, so that means we cannot assign red color to the South Australia state, then we can express that unary constraint with this, okay, SA not equals to red, don't apply red color to SA. So here only one variable is involved, so that's why this constraint is known as unary constraint. In binary constraint, we have two variables involved. Okay, for example, in our original map coloring problem statement, no two neighboring states should have same color, right? So we can have this relation SA not equals to this is I think New South Wales state. Okay, so now here two variables are involved. Okay, so this type of constraint is known as binary constraint. When we have arbitrary number of variables, that is known as global constraint, and we have seen one example of global constraint, that is all diff, right? So in case of a Sudoku problem, we have seen now all the values for these variables should be different, right? So that we have represented with all different constraint, right? So all the variable involved in this constraint should have different value, right? So we have arbitrary number of variables there, so that is known as global constraint, and it is not compulsory that this constraint should include all the variable, right? So here also, see here total 81 variables are there, right? But for one constraint we are considering only 9 variables, right? So it is not compulsory to include all the variables in global constraints. Okay, so I think these types are clear to you. Now we'll start with constraint propagation. Okay, now this is one inference technique in CSP. Okay, so how to infer the solution in case of a CSP with the help of constraint propagation, that we will see. Now what do you mean by constraint propagation? It is a process of using the constraint to reduce the number of legal values for a variable, which in turn can reduce the legal values for another variable, and so on. Okay, so just now we have seen the example of this. Okay, so we have assigned blue color to SA, and we have propagated that constraint for our next variables. Now because of that, earlier this WA, okay, it was having 3 possible values. Okay, in the domain of that variable we had 3 values, but because of this constraint propagation, now blue value is eliminated from its domain. Okay, so now we have reduced the legal moves for WA, right? So that's what happens in constraint propagation. It is a process of using the constraint to reduce the number of legal values for a variable, which in turn can reduce the legal values for another variable, right? And so on. And here the main idea is local consistency. Okay, so if we have at any stage, if we maintain local consistency, so at the last we'll get a solution which is globally consistent. Okay, so this is the idea behind the constraint propagation. Okay, so at each step you maintain a local consistency, and we can maintain that with this 4 types of local consistency. First one is node consistency, then R consistency, path, and K consistency. Now we'll see this consistency one by one. Okay, but to summarize, what do you mean by constraint propagation? So we are reducing the legal values for a next variable, right? So if we have xi, and if we assign some value to xi, let's say y, it is reducing the legal values possible for xj. Okay, now xj has domain of dj, right? Now it is reducing the legal values for xi, means what? Its domain is reducing. Okay, so in graph coloring problem we have seen it has 3 values in domain. Okay, but now because of constant propagation it has 2 values in domain, right? So by constant propagation you mean you have to reduce the domains of next variables. Okay, so remember that. Okay, so along with the local consistency they use this different types. They use the constraint to infer which variable value pairs are consistent and which are not. Okay, so we'll see. First one is node consistency. A single variable is node consistent if all the values in the variable's domain satisfy variable's unary constraint. Okay, unary constraint. Now we are talking about one particular node only. Okay, so now if every value, all the values in the variable's domain, if it satisfies the variable unary constraint, then we can say that that node is node consistent, that variable is node consistent. Okay, so all the values of that variable should satisfy unary constraint. And in a network, if all variables are node consistent, then we can say that that network is node consistent. Okay, so in a network, if every variable in the network are node consistent, then we can say that that entire network is node consistent. Now what do you mean by node consistency? So consider one example, same one. So if the South Australian don't like red, okay, so now from the domain of this South Australia, which was first RGB, now we can remove red color from that. Okay, so we have reduced the domain of SA. Now its updated domain is this one. Okay, so we have summarized, right? So in constant propagation we are going to reduce the domain of a variable, right? So here also we have reduced the domain, right? So now if we consider this domain for SA, now it is consistent, right? So we can make it node consistent by eliminating red, leaving SA with a reduced domain of green and blue only. Okay, so this is node consistency. Okay, so if variable satisfy unary constraint, that is node consistency. Now arc consistency. Arc means what? Edge between two nodes. Okay, so this is our xi and this is our xj, variable xi, xj. Now there is arc between them, and we have seen a consistency graph when we discuss a map coloring problem, right? This is a constraint graph. What it indicating? It is indicating variable at a node level, and when you consider two nodes and if we have edge between them, that means it is representing a binary constraint between these two nodes. Okay, so WA should not be equals to NT, right? Their color should be different. Okay, so that's why we call this consistency as arc consistency. Okay, so here we have to consider binary constraint, okay, where two variables are involved. A variable in CSP is arc consistent if every value in its domain satisfies the variable's binary constraint. Okay, so when you fulfill binary constraint, that consistency is known as arc consistency. And when every variable is arc consistent, that network is known as arc consistent. Okay, now we have one popular algorithm here, that is AC3 algorithm. Let's see that. Okay, so it either returns false when we have inconsistency, okay, otherwise it returns true. Now here we maintain a queue of arcs. Okay, that means all the binary constraint will be included in this queue. Okay, next, while queue is not empty. Okay, do this. First you remove the first pair represented by x and xj. Okay, so we remove the first pair from the queue, and then we are calling a revise method. Okay, now we'll jump to the revise. Now this revise is written in if, right? So it will either return true or false. Okay, now if so, we know that in constant propagation what we are doing, we are reducing the domain of variables, right? Okay, now if you have reduced the domain of xi, then revise will return true. Okay, when you delete some, see here, if you delete, then revise equals to true and true will be written. If you don't reduce any domain, if you don't reduce the domain of any variable, then revise is initialized to false, right? So false will be written. Okay, so what is the meaning of this revise function? Whether you have revised the current variable or not. If you have revised, that means if you have eliminated some of the values, then you return true, otherwise false. Okay, so returns true if and only if we revise the domain of xi variable. Okay, and what do you mean by revising? We will reduce the domain of xi. Initially the revise variable is set to false for each value in domain I. Okay, what is di? This is the domain of xi variable, right? Now, so here no value y in dj allows xy to satisfy the constraint between xi and xj. So here we have xi and xj. Okay, now consider we have three values here, x1, x2, x3, y1, y2, y3. Okay, now no value y, okay, consider one value, okay, does not allow xy to satisfy the constraint. So for consider for x1 we don't have a pair in xj, then we have to remove this x1. Okay, so for x1 if we don't have a pair in xj, then we will remove that. Okay, if it does not satisfy, you delete that variable, okay, and revise is set to true. Okay, now we'll come back here. If revise returns true, then we will enter, and after revision, if the domain of xi if it becomes phi, that means if we don't have any element, that means the size of di, if it becomes 0, then return false. That means there is no option for xi variable, there is no value possible for xi variable, then we can say that our network is inconsistent. Okay, if it is not, then move to next. Now we are talking about xi, and we have considered xj neighbor, right? There can be other neighbors. For that we might have updated the domain. Now xi's domain is updated, right? Then we have to update the domains for previous neighbors also. Okay, so now xi dot neighbor minus xj, okay, that means these nodes, for them also, okay, for them we are adding them back to the queue. Okay, we are adding arc between xk and xi back to the queue. Okay, because we have revised the domain of xi, right? So we have to again revise the domains of previously referred neighbors of xi except xj. Okay, so that is the AC3 algorithm. Any doubt in this algorithm? Okay, next is path consistency. Okay, now if in node consistency we have considered unary constraint. In R consistency we have considered a pair of variable, that means binary constraint. In path consistency, now there is one problem with R consistency. First we'll discuss that. Now consider a problem of map coloring. Okay, so we have South Australia and New South Wales state. Okay, and consider we have only two colors with us, so R and G. Okay, and we want to color the entire network with these two colors only. Okay, and we have here Western Australia also, which is connected to SA. Now we know that this graph coloring is not possible with two colors, but are we getting inconsistency with if you consider R consistency? Let's see that. So for what do you mean by R consistency? If every value in its domain satisfies the variable's binary constraint. Okay, every value should satisfy binary constraint. So let's see that whether we have R consistency or not. For R we have G here. Okay, that means it is fine. Then for G we have R. Okay, and same is true with Western Australia also. For R we have G and for G we have R. Okay, that means our R consistency is not helping here, right? It is saying that it is R consistent, but we know that it is not correlable with two colors. But how it is going to help, how path consistency is going to help for this problem, let us see that. Now it says that when we have two variable set, that is xi and xj, they are path consistent with respect to a third variable xm if for every assignment, okay, xi is set to a and xj is set to b, consistent with the constraint on xi and xj, there is an assignment to xm that satisfies the constraint on xi and xm and xm and xj. This is called path consistency. Okay, so see what is happening here. So if we assign R to SA and G to NSW, that means this constraint is satisfied. But for same assignment, do we have option for WA? No, right? We cannot assign. So if you consider this path also, now you cannot assign R to WA and G to WA, right? That means this is not path consistent. Okay, so here we are considering a third variable. Okay, so once you finalize any assignment, that has to be consistent with the third variable also. Then you can say that is path consistent. Okay, so this is regarding path consistency. Okay, and if you generalize this idea for k variables, that is known as k consistency. Okay, so if we have k equals to 1, that would be a node consistency. K equals to 2 will refer to R consistency. K equals to 3 would be our path consistency. Okay, so what happens in k consistency? So here for the kth variable, so a CSP is k consistent if for any set of k minus 1 variables and for any consistent assignment to those variables. Okay, so for previously considered k minus 1 variable, we will have the consistent assignment, and for the next kth variable, okay, a consistent value can always be assigned to the kth variable. Okay, so for next variable, okay, so we have to assign the value so that it is consistent with the previously found out consistent assignment. Okay, getting my point? Okay, so we will consider k minus 1 variable and they have consistent assignment, means no constraint is violated. Okay, and for the next kth variable, we have to assign that value which will be consistent with this previously consistent assignment. Okay, that means now this k variables are in consistent state. Okay, so this is about k consistency. So we'll stop now. So I think today's concepts are clear to you. In constraint propagation, what we do, we propagate that newly assigned value. Okay, and because of that, what happens, there will be a reduction in the number of legal values for the next variable. Okay, we have seen this through one example, right? Okay, so we'll stop here. Any doubt? Okay, please refer the textbook. Okay, if you don't understand any terminology, you refer the textbook. Everything will be clear because there are number of examples given in the textbook.